Hi, my name is Phil Langdon. Welcome to my channel. In this video I wanted to go through the apocalypse of Adam, otherwise known as the revelation of Adam, because the word apocalypse means revelation, and that's pretty much exactly what we're going to encounter. It turns out to be an apparent discourse between Adam and his son Seth. That's very interesting. We'll find out a lot more about that in a moment, but first of all, I need to introduce the idea that is incorporated into this book, because it's the idea of the creation cycle repeated over and over again. That's what we're going to encounter effectively, and it's the equivalent, this book, of what you would learn as a fresh illuminate that I went through for 4 years. I had 4 years of insights. One thing leads to another. Your mind opens up to all these new ideas and issues concerning the nature of creation overall. Not that you have to be a scientist. You know, it's not a scientific discourse, the Apocalypse of Adam, at all. It's a very heavily coded book, and it's like a precursor to the book we call Genesis. There are other books that associate with it. You might want to look at On the Origins of the World, or the Apocryphon of John from the Gnostic Library. This is also from the Gnostic Library from Nag Hammadi, and it's nice and short, which means I can hopefully keep this video as short as possible. So the first thing I wanted to point out to you before we go anywhere is that the name Adam contains the letter D and the letter M in Hebrew, and if you know the Hebrew alphabet and if you're familiar with Kabbalah, you'll know that Hebrew letters have associated numbers with them and very deep associated meanings. They're far more like an icon on a computer startup screen that you have to double click to open a very large program. So each Hebrew letter is an icon to a program like that. It's got that essence to it, that idea to it. And the letter D in Adam in Hebrew refers to a door. The letter M in Hebrew means water. So we have a door in water surrounded by the letter A, which is Aleph, and is technically a cycle point in the Hebrew alphabet. It's like the Alpha and the Omega. So a door in water may sound very strange as a way of thinking of somebody's name, but Adam turns out to be the creative principle. Adam, being the creator, is a door in the water. So the creator lives in this state called the abyss. So his name tells us what he is. He's the creator. The creator is the physical aspect of the Son of God, and Son of God is the spiritual aspect of the same light. The essence of the book, The Apocalypse of Adam, is encapsulated in one of the entries in the Gospel of Thomas. It's actually 109. And I'm just going to read it out to you. Jesus said, "The kingdom is like a man who had a hidden treasure in his field without knowing it. And after he died, he left it to his son. The son did not know about the treasure. He inherited the field and sold it. And the one who bought it went ploughing and found the treasure. He began to lend money at interest to whomever he wished." That is a 4-stage statement that incorporates God, the Son of God, the cosmos, and a person who redeems the Creator when they're in the cosmos. That's you or me when we become illuminates, when we ascend. So if I show you the scheme with this image, you'll see God at the top from Titian's Ascension of the Virgin. I've borrowed that bit of showing God at the top flying around, supposedly, and then below him is the Son of God, or the pineal light, as creator, and then we have the cosmos. I've shown it as a cyclic nature, like an apple, and below that we have a person. So when we think of the story in the Gospel of Thomas, 109 entry, we find that the first statement, the kingdom is like a man who had a hidden treasure in his field without knowing it. That to me is a reference to the God within. So it's almost starting with a person in the cosmos who needs to find God within themselves, but it's referring to God in that sense. So it's actually a statement about God. The next statement, and after he died he left it to his son, is referring to the Son of God, the Creator, as the Creator, who's going to generate the cosmos. The son who did not know about the treasure, he inherited the field and sold it. That's a reference to the cosmos. So it comes away from him. And the one who bought it, the person who grows and develops in the cosmos, you and me, as a product of that Creator, went ploughing and found the treasure. So we do the great work and we become illuminated and find the Holy Grail as a result. And that's redemption, that's personal redemption for an individual. And that person then begins to lend money at interest to whomever they wish. Well, they become one with God and unify with all three aspects of spirit or metaphysics. We're all born into physical life from the Creator, who is the devil, it turns out. His best creation is your ego. It's like he's God's son, but he's a naughty boy at first, and he generates the cosmos, and God isn't very pleased, so redemption has to come about, and God has to enter the cosmos into the creation of the Creator, which is you and me, and generate redemption, bring about our ascension, and redeem his son or the Creator. So the devil becomes the redeemer or the redeemed, the Son of God. And now creation is perfected. As the idea is, the Creator has made an imperfect creation by trying to mimic the infinite pulse of his Father. See, as I mentioned before, the infinite pulse comes out from the center of your head when you have spiritual union with God. And that generates the Son of God as the light from the pineal gland in this infinite void known as the abyss, which is a zero-dimensional singularity. But you're seeing it from a completely different and opposite perspective. Now you can see it as an infinite expanse when you're in it, when you ascend into it. And now, of course, when you generate that light is the Son of God. And you are redeemed from the physical system generated by the imperfection of the Creator, who tried to mimic his Father's infinite pulse by generating, in the end, what we call the cosmos. So when we follow the scheme of creation, we end up with 7 kingdoms, and we can follow those from the Tree of Life, counting down 1, 2, 3, 4, then back up 5, 6, 7. So we start with the Creator and the world of creation on the Tree of Life. In this case, when we're looking at kingdoms, because God, ineffable God, is not part of the kingdoms, he's not part of manifestation. All 7 kingdoms have to do with manifestation. And the first is the world of creation, because that's the first manifestation at the foundational, timeless state. The infinite abyss with the light as an anomaly, a scalar potential in the infinite abyss. And then we have energy, the atomic kingdom, the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, the animal kingdom, and humanity who, through mentalism, regenerate the Creator. And that's a correspondence, because the Creator associates with the center of your head as an individual and the Creator of the entire cosmos at the same time. So there's a correspondence between the two. And what we're hearing about throughout the Apocalypse of Adam is the idea of starting with the Creator and going almost directly to the regenerated creator as a redeemer. And it's that cycle that is being repeated in the apocalypse of Adam. It's really simple in its principle because you can see it everywhere in nature. Every plant grows from a seed, and every plant reproduces that seed as its product when it's pollinated from outside. So you can compare that to a human who's pollinated by God's Spirit to become ascended and reproduce the seed of the cosmos. So it's the same principle, same process, same idea. So now I'm going to go straight into the start of the apocalypse of Adam, which is really the revelation of Adam, and that's a very appropriate title, if Adam is the creator. It starts by saying, the revelation which Adam taught his son Seth. Well, Adam is the creator, so I looked up the word Seth, obviously, quite a long time ago, and it turns out to mean anointed. So in that very short statement, already we have Adam the creator and Seth the anointed. That's a complete cycle immediately. It also goes on and says, in the 700th year. If you're familiar with the Hebrew alphabet and number system, the gematria, normal number system they use for the letters, you'll know that the last 4 letters are 100, 200, 300 and 400. The first 9 are 1 to 9. But if you count towards the end and reach 400, the end of the alphabet joins with the beginning again. So you can now count the letter A as 500, maintaining the slices of 100. So the letter B is 600, and the letter Gimel in Hebrew is 700. So a reference to 700 years is, in this case, a reference to Gimel, which has a meaning that is highly significant in this case. Because Gimel generally means justified repayment, either good or bad, reward or punishment. In Psalm 119 in the Bible, Gimel means give me insight, open my eyes to learn your law. That's extremely appropriate for what's going on here. So that's just a coded way of referring to the letter Gimel in Hebrew and its meaning, its hidden meaning that I was referring to earlier. Listen to my words, my son Seth. That to me reminds me of being illuminated freshly and now having the light informing me and giving me insights, or giving you insights over time. When God had created me out of the earth, you've got to leave normal interpretation behind here. When they say earth, they are literally not talking about the earth you're standing on. It's literally referring to the physical plane that you could generally refer to as the cosmos. It depends what aspect you want to refer to. So let's carry on. So when God had created me out of the earth, from the physical plane, because Adam, the creator, the light, is generated from your head, and you are in the physical plane when that occurs. The same thing happens in On the Origins of the World. The very first thing that occurs in the text is a description just like this, but the origin of chaos, the abyss, is referred to as a shadow, because physical things have not come about yet. So it's very difficult to talk about, you know, this cycle looping thing, because spirit is non-linear and timeless, but stuff in time needs linearity and logic to get from A to B. When God had created me out of the earth along with Eve, your mother, Eve is the cosmos, I went about with her in a glory which she had seen in the aeon from which we had come forth. That is the Holy Spirit expanding from you, producing the abyss. There's an aeon because it's forever, even though it's birthed, but it's only birthed from a physical point of view. Spiritually, in non-linear terms, it's always extant. So here's a good point to show you that Adam and Eve, being the creator and the cosmos, are actually joined by a single arm. In the book of Genesis, it uses the word single rib to suggest that Eve has been produced from Adam by using a single rib. But the meaning in original Hebrew is more like the word side. So it actually says Eve was created from Adam's side. And that's precisely what we see in the cosmic relationship between the creator and the cosmos. Because the creator, like a magician or a wizard, generates the cosmos from the end of his right hand. She taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God. That's an issue concerning Eve as the secret of the heart. Adam is the secret of the brain because that's where the pineal gland is and where the pineal light is produced with the expansion of the Holy Spirit. But the Holy Spirit in the first place inculcates itself in your heart and becomes this cold flame that rises. And the sense there, Kabbalistically, is that if Eve is the secret of the heart, that flame rising from the heart is giving its secret to the brain. So you become illuminated thanks to Eve in the first place, and then she regenerates or helps to regenerate Adam. By giving the brain her secret, then you illuminate, then you understand oneness, because oneness is more like love and the ineffable. So in a sense, what you're hearing here is the first key to heaven. She taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God is the first key to heaven, the rising of Eve's secret from the heart to the brain, in my opinion. And we resembled the great eternal angels, of course, because then you illuminate and you're an angel. Illumination generates an angel. For we were higher than the God who had created us. Now they're talking as if they're above the creator who is Adam, and yet it seems like Adam is the one who's talking. See, but he's taking you through the process. So now he's had the first key to heaven. She taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God, and then we resembled the great eternal angels. That's the second key to heaven. That's ascension, illumination. For we were higher than the God, the creator, who had created us. So now they're at the end of this little short cycle, this paragraph. Now they're being referred to in terms of humans or humanoids on planets who ascend. So in one paragraph, we've gone from literal creator cosmos to you and me at the end of that cycle who regenerate the creator in a very short space of time. Yeah, whom we did not know. Okay, so as we resembled the great eternal angels, that's the ascension, for we were higher than the God who had created us, that's the creator, so you've risen above his automatic system using your free will. You are now greater and in control of your incarnating ability, because the creator is just an automatic thing, and it produces an automatic energy mechanic system called the cosmos. So when you ascend, you are no longer a slave to that. You know about it, you understand it, you've seen now the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, who is the creator, and now you know he can't hide himself from you anymore. See, you can't be lied to anymore about the nature of reality, because you've actually seen it for yourself. So all this illusion, as it were, that is referred to as the cosmos, no longer blinds you to the reality behind it. So you can live in it and not have a problem, as it were. Yeah, and the powers with him, the nature of energy, the physical nature of the kingdoms as well, whom we did not know. So now they've risen above it, and they have nothing to do with the physical world anymore in ascension. So in that very first paragraph, you've got the entirety of the point of creation, which is really the great work to remake the creator, to ascend. And in so doing, God finds the three aspects of spirit and experiences, all three, to know the self completely. You see, so two cycles, as it were, two loops are completed at once there. The second paragraph goes on to say, then God, the ruler of the aeons and the powers, divided us in wrath. That's really a reference to the expansion of the cosmos, as if to say the cosmos is being separated from the creator, as it were, in nature, because the creator is very hidden from the cosmos. You have to access the creator personally. Then we became two aeons. That's the creator and the cosmos, yeah, the cosmic being. And the glory in our hearts left us, me and your mother Eve, along with the first knowledge that breathed within us. The first knowledge will be the T=0 state, the foundational state, that changes now the cosmos is developing. Time comes into play and change and cause and effect, and the issue of the kingdoms. And it, glory, fled from us, because it's not the foundational, crystal, clean state of, the foundational abyss. It entered into something, something great, something, something which had come forth, not from this aeon from which we had come forth, I and Eve, your mother. That's the expansion of the Holy Spirit. But it, knowledge, entered into the seed of great aeons. For this reason I myself have called you by the name of that man who is the seed of the great generation, or from whom it comes. That's the manifestation of people throughout the cosmos. The great generation is the manifestation, you and me, of the Creator. But it, knowledge, entered into the seed of great aeons. That's what goes on in the cosmos. The seed of great aeons illuminates who are effectively new seeds for new trees of life. That's a theme that comes out in this text again. For this reason I myself have called you by the name of that man who is the seed of the great generation, or from whom it comes. That illuminates. Seth being anointed is what happens to an illuminate. You're anointed at the sixth chakra. After those days, the eternal knowledge of the God of truth withdrew from me and your mother Eve. The cosmos develops. Since that time, we learned about dead things like men, because all there is now the cosmos. If they follow the development of what they've produced there, then we recognize the God who had created us. That's ascension, when you find yourself in the abyss again. For we were not strangers to his powers. Now, so we were not strangers to his powers. They've gone through the cycle of creation and they've come out in ascension. That's what we're hearing again, the same cycle. And we served him in fear and slavery. Before he's the automatic creator. You're a slave to that until you ascend. And after these events, we became darkened in our hearts. Now I slept in the thought of my heart. That actually sounds an awful lot like Dark Night of the Soul. There are issues in here sometimes that are the personal aspect of illumination. For instance, before we heard about she taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God pertaining to the first key to heaven, rising to inculcate the second key, which is very personal. It's not about the creator and the cosmos at that moment, as it were. And I saw three men before me whose likeness I was unable to recognize. So the three men, again, is the thrice nature of God. The three aspects of spirit, since they were not the powers of the God who had created us. That's right. They are metaphysic, the nature of spirit, not the nature of the kingdoms and creation and physical energy. They surpassed something, glory and something, men, something, saying to me, arise, Adam, from the sleep of death, and hear about the aeon and the seed of that man to whom life has come, who came from you and from Eve, your wife. That's you and me. That's not a special person that appears in the universe as the greatest man that ever lived, like Superman, or the Son of God as a person. That is you and me as an illuminate. Because illumination is the regeneration of the world of creation, so it's the closing of the loop. Yeah, illuminates break their chains. They break physical chains and they become spiritualized away from the Creator. It goes on and says, "When I had heard these words from the great men who were standing before me, then we sighed, I and Eve, in our hearts. And the Lord, the God who had created us, stood before us." That's the light. Do you not know that I am the God who created you, and I breathed into you a spirit of life as a living soul? Then darkness came upon our eyes. All of a sudden, that is associated with the moment just before you fly up in ascension, because it feels like a shutter goes down behind your eyes and they literally just switch off. Everything goes black immediately. And then you fly up into ascension. So the next thing you might hear might include something about the light, if that's the case. And it goes on and says, "Then the God who created us created a son from himself, and Eve, your mother." Right. So it's now talking about the Son of God being created in this ascension moment, just after the darkness came upon our eyes. It's really mixing things together here, and taking us through the sequence, but highlighting different aspects of it each time as well. For something something, in the thought of my something, I knew a sweet desire for your mother. Then the vigour of our eternal knowledge was destroyed in us, and weakness pursued us once again. That is the generation of the cosmos, because the initial state is destroyed and chaos ensues. The cosmos is like the running a runaway train. Therefore, the days of our life became few. That's right. Well, everything is transient in the cosmos. For I knew that I had come under the authority of death. Yeah, the generated cosmos is transient, and it's all about death. It's all dead, animated by spirit. "Now then, my son Seth, I will reveal to you the things which those men whom I saw before me at first revealed to me. After I have completed the times of this generation, and the years of the generation have been accomplished, then something something slave something blank." That one just runs out. That sounds like, after I've completed the times of this generation, it sounds like the lifetime of Brahma that Hindus talk about, in the sense that it's the cosmic cycle playing itself out to the end, before starting up again. Now it goes into a flood narrative, and you immediately get the impression that we're basically reading a precursor to Genesis, and a much simpler version that allows us to see into what is in Genesis in the Bible. "For rain showers of God the Almighty will be poured forth, so that he might destroy all flesh from the earth." That means wipe out the physical plane, which is what occurs in ascension when you reach the T=0 state. Wiping out all flesh is like saying every mountain and island is removed from its place as you find yourself in the abyss, with the great flood of the expansion of the ocean of chaos as the abyss from you, the expansion of the Holy Spirit. If that's the ocean of chaos, the abyss, then its production is referred to as the great flood. "On account of the things that it seeks after, along with those from the seed of the men to whom passed the life of the knowledge, which came from me and Eve your mother, for they were strangers to him." That sounds like talking about the nature of people born from the Creator are, as in the Gospel of John says, children of the devil, as it were. They're all ego. They haven't found God yet. They're not illuminates yet. That's the natural state for a creature and a being in the cosmos, to not be illuminated. "Afterwards, great angels will come on high clouds, who will bring those men into the place where the Spirit of life dwells. Something, something, glory, something there. Something come from heaven to earth. Then the whole multitude of flesh will be left behind in the waters." That really sounds like ascension, and it's a very convoluted way of talking about it. Angels will come on high clouds. Well, they're talking about clouds and angels for a start, and you could mess about with that sort of language and pretend that angels play harps on clouds, when really angels are people who have seen and experienced the cloud, the Son of God. See, and now they're happy. That's the idea. So yeah, that whole bit there is about ascension, the great flood. Then it goes on and says, then God will rest from his wrath. And he will cast his power upon the waters, and he will give power to his sons and their wives by means of the ark, along with the animals whichever he pleased, and the birds of heaven which he called them released upon the earth. And God will say to Noah, whom the generations will call Deucalion, which means sweet new wine. That's like the marriage at Cana, when Jesus turns water into wine. It's the best wine that is saved till the end. Noah is the Son of God. If you read the description of Noah in the book of Noah, the authority about finding out anything to do with Noah, the very first chapter tells you all about Noah and his birth, and the description is that of the light of illumination. So Noah is the Son of God. The letters in his name are N and H. His name means rest, traditionally, but if you look at the Hebrew meaning of the letters, N means fish. Behold, I have protected you in the ark, along with your wife and your sons and their wives and their animals and the birds of heaven which you called and released upon the earth. So what we have there is the nature of the Creator being Noah, actually as the Son of God, and the ark, a repository, being the cosmos, as if it's a repository of the information that generates the Creator. The Creator is the minimal amount of information that you need to regenerate the cosmos. It's the same principle as generating Hebrew letters from the tree of life and the cosmic cycle. That what looks like a wiggle is in fact a minimal definition of the surface of a toroid or torus. It's the minimal amount of information you need to reconstruct the entire surface. In the same sense, the creative light is the product of the cosmos and contains all the information that led to him. And if you look at this graphic, it shows you the idea that the ark is the idea of a containment and repository of information. We can apply the idea of the ark as a boat to the Creator himself, because he is the minimal information of the cosmos. But we can also think of the ark as the cosmos. And if we look at the graphic and show the two frontal arms of the Creator as legs, we can see that the Creator is standing in the boat of the cosmos. He's standing in the ark, in the ocean of chaos. Yeah, so Noah's wives and animals, etc., is the containment of the stuff of the cosmos, the nature of the kingdoms, yeah, the vegetable kingdom, the animal kingdom, because Noah hoards seeds and animals. So he's containing in his ark the nature of information of life that leads to the ability to regenerate the Creator and close the loop of creation. It goes on and says, therefore I will give the earth to you, you and your sons, The three sons of Noah are associated most strongly with the three columns on the tree of life. And they are mercy, severity, and consciousness. You have there really the idea of applying the tree of life to many different levels of creation. You can apply it to the cosmos as a whole, to a galaxy, to a solar system, to a planet, to a creature on the planet, and to the creature's head, a human. You'll be able to map the psyche of a human onto the tree of life, as Carl Jung has in fact done. So when we talk about applying the tree of life, you need to decide which aspect of creation you're applying it to. So here, therefore I will give the earth to you. No, I will give the physical plane to you, Noah. See, Noah is the son of God, the creator. So therefore God will give the physical plane to you. The creator is allowed to generate the cosmos, you and your sons, the tree of life applicable to the cosmos and every delineation, fractal delineation within the cosmos leading to you and me, the human being. In kingly fashion you will rule over it, you and your sons. Well, that's talking about the tree of life being the blueprint of creation. And the creator being the alpha and the omega as a redeemer. And no seed will come from you of the men who will not stand in my presence in another glory. In other words, there will be people who won't illuminate. Then they will become as the cloud of the great light. That's a bit of a giveaway. In other words, they'll unify with the light. They'll become illuminates. Those men will come who have been cast forth from the knowledge of the great aeons and the angels. They will stand before Noah, before the Creator in ascension, and the aeons, the metaphysic of spirit, the third aspect of spirit, which is referred to as the third day. In most of the references in the Bible, it's called the third day, the abyss, the generation of the abyss, by the Holy Spirit expanding. And God will say to Noah, why have you departed from what I told you? What's going on there? Why have you departed from what I told you? That is God talking to his son, who is generating the cosmos that is imperfect again. It's this theme again. God made the perfect infinite pulse, but his son can't do that. So there's a discourse now. This is explanatory, literary material. It's trying to explain things, but it's coding it and veiling it at the same time. You have created another generation so that you might scorn my power. Well, you could say that that's the new, the Redeemer, the Creator, generated by an Illuminate. That is now the new seed for a new tree of life, as it were. But it's the same boss. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. You know, so it's the same Creator again, and he's the naughty son of God sorry, not the son of God, that's his Redeemer. He's the naughty devil Creator who generates the imperfect cosmos. Then Noah will say, I shall testify before your might that the generation of these men did not come from me nor from my sons, something knowledge. So there we have the fact that Noah is a redeemer, not the creator as such. Okay, so that's really interesting, the way they do that. Distinguishing between the redeemer and creator. The creator is always the naughty boy, as it were. You know, so because Noah is God's son and perfect in the sight of God, he's not a naughty boy. So he's saying, well, I didn't do that. It's quite funny how they write this and word it. And he will, something, those men, and bring them into their proper land and build them a holy dwelling place. So they will become illuminates eventually anyway. It's a general way of saying that. And they will be called by that name and dwell there 600 years. Right now, 600 refers to the letter Beit in Hebrew, the second letter, which is the first letter of the Genesis text. And the secret of the universe, Kabbalistically, is held in the letter B, because it's the primary distinction between an inside and an outside, like the idea of containment or an interface. It means house, Beit. So Beth-El or Beit-El means house of God. So it means house, and it's the secret of the universe. In other words, they'll find out the secret of the universe. It actually goes on and says, by that name, and dwell there 600 years in a knowledge of imperishability. There you go. That become illuminates. And angels of the great light will dwell with them. Well, you know, that's another way of talking about illumination and how wonderful it is that people can become illuminated and angels hang around with them and all this sort of thing. No foul deed will dwell in their hearts, but only the knowledge of God. That's typical of illuminates. That's the kind of thing we think about. It goes on and says, then Noah will divide the whole earth among his sons. Yet again, it's the same statement as before. Ham, Japheth, and Shem. He will say to them, my sons, listen to my words. Again, it's the Creator speaking to his creation, as it were. Behold, I have divided the earth among you. Well, the tree of life is the blueprint of creation. It's this principle yet again. But serve him in fear and slavery all the days of your life. Let not your seed depart from the face of God the Almighty. Something, I and your something, son of Noah. My seed will be pleasing before you and before your power in the cosmos. Seal it by your strong hand. That's the Creator's right hand, the strong hand, with fear and commandment. That's like mercy and severity. So that the whole seed came forth from me may not be inclined away from you and God the Almighty, but it will serve in humility and fear of its knowledge. In other words, there's a faith there that the production of the cosmos will bring about angels, illuminates, that return to God. Then others from the seed of Ham and Japheth will come, 400,000 men, and enter into another land, and sojourn with those men who came forth from the great eternal knowledge. For the shadow of their power will protect those who have sojourned with them from every evil thing and every unclean desire. Then the seed of Ham and Japheth will form 12 kingdoms, and their seed also will enter into the kingdom of another people. And that's quite confusing. If you think of the number there, 400,000, you can shorten that for momentarily to the number 40. You might want to think about number 4, but the number 40, the reason I'm doing that is because 40 is the letter M, which is Mem, which represents water. And the number 400 in the Hebrew alphabet is the last letter of the sacred alphabet, which is the completion of all things. So once again, we're at the letter, normally the letter T. So once again, we're hearing about the same idea that people who are born into a cosmos unilluminated are able to find illumination and return home, as it were. Then the seed of Ham and Japheth will form 12 kingdoms, and their seed also will enter into the kingdom of another people. So the 12 kingdoms, in my mind, are associating with the number of the universe, which is 12. And the reason for that is directly from the blueprint of the metaphysic of spirit, which is 3. It's 1, 0, and infinity, and of course they generate the Son of God, which is a physical, spiritual aspect. So that's the blueprint of all things, apparently, the spiritual basis of the physical manifestation. If you draw a upside down triangle in the middle of that major triangle and isolate the Son of God in that central triangle, you now have 4 triangles making a large triangle, and each of those have 3 corners. If you add them all together, you get 12. So the idea is the cosmos is based on this blueprint, and the number 12 is in the blueprint. So that filters down into 12 zodiac signs, because we are a miniature cosmos, and if the number of the cosmos is 12, then we can associate 12 with us. And of course we have 12 cranial nerves. Referring to the 12 signs of the zodiac, we have different characteristics that are inculcated in these different signs of the zodiac. that I take very seriously in terms of energetic intelligentsia or signatures, as it were. The Leo thing is very brash and forward and extrovert, while the Virgo thing is very introvert. These different characteristics I find are absolutely real. I experience them. I know about them in myself. The number 13, as a result, because the cosmos generates the creator who is singular. Yes, he generates the cosmos, but the cosmos is number 12. Therefore, generating the light is going to refer to the number 13. So the number 13 refers to an illuminate, or a god, or an anointed one. We'll find that later because there are a description of 12 kingdoms that are coming up in a moment. So the text goes on and says, then something will take counsel, something, aeons, something, who are dead, of the great aeons of imperishability. The aeons of imperishability are the three aspects of spirit, the metaphysics. And they will go to Sakla. In terms of being an automatic product who generates an automatic cosmos. He doesn't have to think. He's not a being who you can talk to and have a conversation with. Going to Sakla is another way of referring to ascending, because you only ever go there when you ascend. The only other time is when you die. They will go into the powers, that's the manifestation, the issues of manifestation, the kingdoms of energy, accusing the great men who are in their glory. So when you're in the powers of creation, you're operating under your ego supposedly, and you have issues. You're thought of as not perfectly sane. I know it's a bit derogatory. Don't take it too seriously. Just because you're not illuminated, it doesn't mean you're going to be insane. It's not like that. It's just a very higher state, more advanced way of looking at things that actually brings them into a greater simplicity, to be honest. It goes on and says, they will say to Sakla, what is the power of these men who stood in your presence, who were taken from the seed of Ham and Japheth, and who will number 400,000 men? They have been received into another aeon from which they had come forth, and they have overturned all the glory of your power and the dominion of your hand. Of your hand. So the Sakla is the creator. It's as if people who are in creation, not illuminated yet, are complaining about the fact that gods are all happy and sorted and they're all right. We're not all right yet. And it's like, well, what made you illuminate them? What's wrong with us? It's a bit like that. It's a bit like a complaint. Yeah, they have overturned all the glory of your power. In other words, illuminates overcome the automatic creator, and the dominion of your hand. Yeah, the dominion that generates the cosmos, the power of the creator that generated it in the first place. For the seed of Noah through his sons has done all your will, and so have all the powers in the aeons over which your might rules, while both those men and the ones who are sojourners in their glory have not done your will, but they have turned aside your whole throng. They've rejected the principle of great work in the cosmos. They've simply gone for pleasure over joy. That's from the Upanishads. I should explain that. Because it gives people the impression that they're not allowed to have pleasure in their life if they want to be spiritual. That's not true. The path of joy is the path of the great work and wanting to understand yourself, the nature of things, the nature of God potentially. The path of pleasure is when you simply pursue pleasure from one moment to the next and never develop your learning and understanding to realize there's something for you to do while you're here, and that is ascend. So people who follow pleasure reach not the end of incarnations. They keep reincarnating. That's the idea. But people who follow the path of joy illuminate and ascend automatic creation, so they don't need to come back into it. So this text is highlighting the distinction between illuminates or not. And it's the same distinction we find in the scene of judgment, the hall of judgment from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So there, the initiate, or the person who's recently deceased, I say initiate for a certain reason, but the person who's deceased there has their heart weighed to see if they had union with God. And if they have, then they are a god, and they are taken to the sanctuary, the square sanctuary, where the Creator is. You can take that as a scene referring to the keys to heaven, the heart and the mind. So you can refer them to ascension in life, but they also refer to death, because when we die, we also find ourselves in the abyss in front of the Creator. And if we haven't ascended before our moment of death, then He will have authority over us, and He will send us into another life. If we ascend Him, then He can't do that. We have free will. We can choose our own incarnations. We've gained control over our own incarnations as a result of being illuminated. Then the God of the aeons will give them some of those who serve Him, and they will come upon that land where the great men will be, who have not been defiled, nor will be defiled by any desire. For their soul did not come from a defiled hand, but it came from a great commandment of an eternal angel. Well, that's talking about illuminates, being reborn in spirit. Then fire and sulphur and asphalt will be cast upon those men, and fire and blinding mist will come over those aeons, and the eyes of the powers of the illuminators will be darkened. So that is a way of referring to sending somebody back into the cosmos to be reborn, because it's like fire and brimstone. The cosmos is effectively hell, because it's harsh and it's created by the devil, so it's his domain, and you're under his auspices, so you're a slave to the devil in hell until you ascend. It just sounds bad. It's not like that. It's just the way it sounds. It's a way of describing it, you know, a way of encapsulating the predicament of life. Yeah, so these people have gone back into life, and the eyes of the powers of the illuminators will be darkened, and the aeons will not see them in those days. Well, they go back into creation. That's a really convoluted way of talking about that issue. And great clouds of light will descend, and other clouds of light will come down upon them from the great aeons. That is talking about people in general, plural, becoming illuminates in the cosmos. Clouds of light descending. There's only one cloud of light. You know, you can talk about it as God descending His cloud on you, in the sense that the capstone of a pyramid comes from above and it descends from heaven, and earth rises to meet it as the pyramid, and they become one in union. It says then, Abraxas and Sablo and Gamaliel will descend and bring those men out of the fire and the wrath, and take them above the aeons and the rulers of the powers, above creation, and take them away something of life, something, and take them away something, aeons, something, dwelling place of the great something, the great and powerful Oz. There with the holy angels and the aeons, that means ascended, you know, completing the nature of spirit to experience all of it for yourself at once. So you're an illuminate, an ascended master. Abraxas is the creator, the great archon, the source of divine emanations. Well, that's effectively the creator directly from God. Sablo means sand. And actually refers to angel of graciousness and protection. You can refer to the Son of God as that if you're an illuminate. And Gamaliel means God is my reward, or the Lord is my reward. And that sounds exactly like illumination, because receiving the light is like attaining the Holy Grail, which is an eternal state for you. So you have thrice great protection. They mention these three ways of talking about the Creator in the same sense that the Gospel of John says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word is mentioned 3 times, Whenever you have a suggestion of the number 3, you're being told about metaphysics, the three aspects of spirit. The men will be like those angels, for they are not strangers to them, but they work in the imperishable seed. I'm immediately reminded of the bark of Ra. The bark of Ra in ancient Egypt is thought of as the light as a boat, because the beams coming out of it are like oars sticking out the hull of a boat. So it's the bark of Ra. There's an awful lot to say about that. However, when you're an illuminate, you are considered to be a crew member of this boat. You see, so you're a sailor. Yeah, they work in the imperishable seed. In this case, the seed is the creator, the principle, creative principle. But if you take it as a boat, it's the bark of Ra that has a lot of crew members. There are 10 crew members because it's referring to the tree of life and the 10 Sephiroth. Once again, for the third time, the illuminator of knowledge will pass by in great glory in order to leave something of the seed of Noah and the sons of Ham and Japheth, to leave for himself fruit-bearing trees. That's heavily coded. Once again, for the third time, that's like saying on the third day, and that is referring to the expansion of the Holy Spirit as a third aspect of spirit, generating the abyss and ascension for you, the individual. The illuminator of knowledge, the creator, the light, will pass by in great glory in order to leave something of the seed of Noah and the sons of Ham and Japheth. So it's the same light. It is Noah. To leave for himself fruit-bearing trees. Every time somebody becomes illuminated, that new seed is considered to be the seed of a new tree of life. See, but that new tree of life is in fact the cosmos, because everyone goes back to that same t equals 0 state. So their new tree is in fact the cosmos. And he will redeem their souls from the day of death. That's right. Illuminates are immortal, as it were, in terms of even if they physically die, they don't reincarnate on Earth again. They've ascended its system. For the whole creation that came from the dead Earth, from the dead material plane, will be under the authority of death, as usual. But those who reflect upon the knowledge of the eternal God in their hearts will not perish. As those who do the great work or some sort of service, a path to God. There is more than one path to God. There are many. There are 4 major paths as they're described. One of them is the path of knowledge that I took. And it's not just intellectual, the path of knowledge. It's the appreciation of the intellectual nature. It's the appreciation of what it means and how it affects you. That is the path of knowledge. For they have not received spirit from this kingdom alone, but they have received it from something eternal angel, something illuminator, something will come upon, something that is dead, something of Seth, of anointing. It's difficult to know exactly what that sentence was trying to say because there's so many missing parts, but it's the same kind of material. And he will perform signs and wonders in order to scorn the powers and their ruler. So the powers and their ruler is the kingdoms and the creator. To scorn it, to overcome it, to rise above it, to become illuminated. Then the God of the powers will be disturbed, saying, what is the power of this man who is higher than we? Me, the creator, and my kingdoms, you've risen above my kingdoms. How are you higher than us? Because God has become one with that person, and God is higher than the Son of God and the creator. Then he will arouse a great wrath against that man, and the glory will withdraw and dwell in holy houses which it has chosen for itself. There's immediately a very short sentence there talking about the generation of the cosmos and illuminates appearing in the cosmos, recreating the original seed. Because it says, then he will arouse a great wrath against that man. The cosmos will be generated. The generation of the cosmos is considered to be a wrath because it's hot and ferocious and extremely fast, but physical, so of the devil, not beautiful and light and spiritual and infinite pulsing like God. And the glory will withdraw and dwell in holy houses. Yeah, the glory will withdraw, it'll disappear because the cosmos takes over once it's generated, and then it reappears, the seed in the cosmos and illuminates, which it has chosen for itself. The glory will withdraw, the cosmos is generated, and dwell in holy houses. That's your body. The house and temple of God is your body. So it's talking about people who become illuminates, which it has chosen for itself. They're referred to as God's chosen. You know, the Israel. I don't want to get into that. I've mentioned it before. It's a vast subject, and it's extremely complex. It goes on, and the powers will not see it with their eyes, that's the kingdoms, nor will they see the illuminator either, because he's left the kingdoms. An ascended master leaves the physical nature. Then they will punish the flesh of the man upon whom the Holy Spirit came. Then the angels and all the generations of the powers will use the name in error, asking, where did the error come from? Or where did the words of deception which all the powers have failed to discover come from? Or there, once again, we have exactly the same concept, but in a completely different statement about the fact that wrath is generating the cosmos as a mistake, as a poor creation, is considered to be a mistake that needs to be redeemed in you and me. So now it goes into these 13 kingdoms. It mentioned 12, but it's going to talk about 13, and in every single one, it's a short verse of about 5 or 6 lines each one. They're all exactly the same. They're all telling you exactly the same cycle from creator to redeemer every single time, and they're incorporating the illuminate in it as well. So as we go from Adam to Seth, or God to the Son of God, we find it says, now the first kingdom says of him that he came from something, a spirit, something to heaven. That's the first key to heaven. A spirit, the Holy Spirit comes to a person and brings them in heaven. Actually, you find heaven first, and then the Holy Spirit enters you while you're in heaven. He was nourished in the heavens, by the Holy Spirit. He received the glory of that one and the power. That's the first kingdom of the abyss and the Creator. Notice the power, the first kingdom, the world of creation. He came to the bosom of his mother. So the cosmos is the mother of the divine child redeemer, who is in her bosom when he's born. So an illuminate is in the bosom of his mother. And thus he came to the water. In fact, you could interpret that he came to the bosom of his mother, because you're the mother of the light and God is its father. You are the virginal mother, because God, being spirit, hasn't had sex with you to produce a divine child, so you're a virgin. Yeah, he received the glory of that one and the power. So he is you, the illuminate, receiving glory of that one, which is the light, and the power, which is its kingdom. He came to the bosom of his mother. That'll be you. That'll reference you in the center of your head when the light switches on. You are its mother, and it's in your bosom, in your midst. And thus he came to the water. The waters of life is a reference to the light, the illumination. The second kingdom says about him that he came from a great prophet, and a bird came, took the child who was born, and brought him onto a high mountain. That's the mountain of God. It's a different way of referencing ascension, or heaven. Shambhala is on top of Mount Meru as heaven, a heavenly realm. And he was nourished by the bird of heaven. That's the Son of God. an angel came forth there, the Son of God, and that the person is now becoming an angel. He said to him, "Arise, God has given glory to you." He received glory and strength by becoming one with the abyss and creator and becoming illuminated, and thus he came to the water, and thus he found himself ascended in the abyss. They go on. Another one, the fifth kingdom, is quite interesting. I've highlighted it. It says of him that he came from a drop from heaven. That's like saying a spark of the divine. He was thrown into the sea, which is the abyss, the ocean of chaos. The abyss received him. There you go. It actually tells you that. It actually says the abyss received him and gave birth to him as spirit and brought him to heaven, ascended him. So going on, I'm going to go to the 12th kingdom where it says that he came from two illuminators. Those are the keys to heaven, in my opinion, to interpret that. The two illuminators are the keys to heaven, the heart and mind. The first key is meeting God. The second key is meeting the Son of God in the abyss. He was nourished there. He received glory and power, and thus he came to the water, the abyss. The 12 is the number of the cosmos, as I've explained before. So when you complete the cosmos, you have the keys to heaven. That's why I think there's a reference to the keys to heaven in that one. In the next one, it says, and the 13th kingdom says of him that every birth of their ruler is a word. If you remember, in the beginning of the Gospel of John, it talks about the word 3 times, being the Son of God, the Creator and the Son of God, Alpha and Omega, same thing, who is the ruler of this cosmos. And of course, when somebody illuminates, they become a ruler on earth. That's the idea. They become royalty. That's where royalty comes from originally. And his word received a mandate there. He received glory and power, and thus he came to the water in order that the desire of those powers might be satisfied. The powers are the kingdoms of creation, and they need to be satisfied by being completed by you, the individual, who closes their loop. The last section of this is really pretty much a description of the distinction between those who illuminate and those who don't when they find themselves in death and they have to reincarnate or not. It starts by saying, but the generation without a king over it says that God chose him from all the aeons. He caused knowledge of the undefiled one of truth to come to be in him. The undefiled one of truth is the Son of God. So we're talking about an illuminate all of a sudden. He or it, that's God, said, out of a foreign air, from a great aeon, the foreign air is the abyss, from the Holy Spirit, the aeon of the Holy Spirit. The great illuminator came forth. Well, that's the light. And he made the generation of those men whom he had chosen for himself shine. That's right. He illuminates them so that they could shine upon the whole aeon. They can spread their understanding to everybody else and increase the amount of illuminates. Then the seed, those who will receive his name upon the water, and that of them all, will fight against the power, and a cloud of darkness will come upon them. Finding the abyss in death, the light is the Grim Reaper as well. The Grim Reaper is a personification of the Creator that you meet that will say, well, I'm afraid I'm going to tell you now to go and do this and go back into this new life and have, back in the cosmos. Then the seed, those who will receive his name upon the water. Receiving his name upon the water is being in front of the Creator in ascension. There's material in the Bible that talks about him writing his name on you, so that you're one of God's chosen children and you're protected. And that of them all. Then the seed, those who will receive his name upon the water. The seed is the Creator. and that of them all will fight against the power, and a cloud of darkness will come upon them. Then the peoples will cry out with a great voice, saying, Blessed is the soul of those men, because they have known God with the knowledge of the truth. That's illuminates, that's non-illuminates, talking about gods. They shall live forever, because they have not been corrupted by their desire, along with the angels. Nor have they accomplished the works of the powers, but they have stood in his presence in a knowledge of godlike light that has come forth from fire and blood. Those are the two keys to heaven, referenced in a different sort of way. Fire happens at the first key when God enters you as the Holy Spirit and becomes this beautiful, cold, blissful flame from your solar plexus or your heart to your throat. And the second key is when you produce the Son of God, who is the slain lamb. So lamb's blood is associated with ascension, and therefore a reference to blood. Fire and blood are the keys to heaven. But we have done every deed of the power senselessly. We have boasted in the transgression of all our works. So really this is a literary explanation of that people can read to recognize that if they feel as though they should do something about their life and finding God and becoming ascended. It's a way of warning people, I think, this kind of material. It's not that people actually said this and did this, it's a way of expressing it and letting people know about it. We have cried against the God of truth, because all his works, something, is eternal. These are against our spirits, for now we have known that our souls will die the death, which refers to being reincarnated. The second death that's referred to in the New Testament that Jesus talks about. Oh, you don't want the second death? Right? Well, it's just reincarnation. It's just harsh because you forget everything and start from scratch. So the last page really is just confirming that this last section is talking about the distinction between illuminates or not at the end of life. When people find themselves in the so-called Hall of Judgment, which is really in front of the Creator. So it finishes by saying, then a voice came to them saying, Mishu and Misha and Mnesinus, who are over the holy baptism and the living water. Right, immediately there you've just heard the metaphysic. The tree of life, the tetrahedron, God, singularity, infinite expanse or abyss with the Son of God. That metaphysic is just that sentence right there. You're going to hear it again right at the end as well, in different terms. The living water, holy baptism, is being in front of the light ascended, because that's the fourth state of the spirituality, as it were. Why were you crying out against the living God with lawless voices and tongues without law over them and souls full of blood and foul deeds? You are full of works that are not of the truth, but your ways are full of joy and rejoicing. That reminds me of the path of joy and path of pleasure. This is the kind of people who followed the path of pleasure and wasted their life and didn't ascend, so they're going to be reincarnated by the Creator. Having defiled the water of life, that's not respecting the Creator and the nature of the world you live in. You're just doing what you want, regardless, as it were. You have drawn it within the will of the powers to whom you have been given to serve them, the nature of creation and the kingdom's energy system. And your thought is not like that of those men whom you persecute, something, desire something. Their fruit does not wither, well, that illuminates. But they will be known up to the great aeons, because the words they have kept of the God of the aeons were not committed to the book, nor were they written. But angelic beings will bring them, whom all the generations of men will not know. For they will be on a high mountain, upon a rock of truth. That's simply a way of referring to illuminates over throughout history in general. Therefore they will be named the words of imperishability and truth, for those who know the eternal God in wisdom of knowledge and teaching of angels forever, for he knows all things. Absolutely true. These are the revelations which Adam made known to Seth, his son, about the cycle of creation leading to redemption. And his son taught his seed about them. This is the hidden knowledge of Adam which he gave to Seth, which is the holy baptism of those who know the eternal knowledge through those born of the Word and the the imperishable illuminators who came from the holy seed, Yesius, Mazareus, Yesi, Decius, the living water. So that last reference there, Yesius, to the living water, is again the same metaphysic, three aspects of spirit. The third one, notice, has two names, Yesi, Decius. That would refer to the abyss, and in the abyss it's you and the Creator. Two issues at once. There are two of you. So that I think that's why there are two titles there before it says the living water, which is the Creator, the fourth condition. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed going through that and figuring out what it was saying. It took a couple of days. It did, because it's so veiled, some of it, you know, but you get clues as you go through and you think, that's that part of the procedure. It's basically this process of God, the Son of God, the cosmos, and the redemption through a human being. That cycle is being emphasized in this book, absolutely. And it really is a revelation. So thank you very much for listening. Take care of yourself.